In this video, we're going to be talking about a few reminders for getting back together with an ex. But first, my name is Clay with modernlove.life, where we help you get the great loving relationship that you're looking for without having to play mind games, without having to play hard to get, and without having to pretend to be someone or something that you are not, because you deserve to be loved for the unique, amazing, and wonderful person that you are. And if you agree with me, please do me a favor by hitting that thumbs up button. It sends a message to the YouTube algorithm that these are some nice videos that should be, promoted a little bit more. Please also, if you would like to, subscribe to this channel so you can get notified when we publish and upload new videos. Also, if you're not already in our Facebook group, if you are on Facebook and you're not in our Facebook group, feel free to sign up. It's totally free. It's called The Connected Couple. There's a link for it down below in the description box. Sign up if it's your thing. If not, no worries. Here we are. It's Friday. Next week, I think a lot of us are aware, is probably going to be kind of a tense week. If you're in the United States, you obviously know that we have our presidential election next week, and if you're in the rest of the world, you may know that. I understand if you don't. If you've been watching the news, you know there's a lot of tension. This is probably going to be one of the most tense presidential elections in recent history. So it has me thinking a lot about the difference between things that we can control and things that we can't control. I mean, obviously, I think this presidential election has been a very polarizing experience for most of us here in the United States. And because of that, a lot of people have an opinion about what they want to happen next Tuesday. And, whether or not that ends up happening, or whether the opposite of what you want ends up happening, or whether we just end up in this weird state of confusion for a while where we don't know, who won the election. I want you to remind yourself that, okay, that is outside of your realm of control, most likely, unless you're some sort of, high up politician that is watching these videos, in which case, hello. Nice to have you here. But for most of us, this whole election process is out of our control. Yes, we can vote, we can do our part. I did that. I hope you did that as well too if you're in the US. But aside from that, there's not much we can really do except just see what everyone else is going to end up doing on election day, and hope that this whole process is as honest and straightforward as possible. But aside from that, you need to focus on yourself and what you have control of within your own sphere of influence. So, for example, I voted. But aside from that, I can't control anything else, and I just need to focus on living my own life, which involves, having a nice Halloween weekend with my daughter, and doing some more things around the house. I have received messages from people that say that the video quality is not so great. It's kind of grainy back here, and I get it. I'm gonna try to get a new camera in the near future. Just gotta do some research, find the right one, and all that stuff. And we're gonna hopefully get things a little bit figured out so that we can have some higher quality videos and get some nice more background stuff back here and all that. I'm hoping it feels like we're in a nice little intimate office or something like that, just chatting or something. Anyway, we'll eventually work up to that. Again, we are only just about a month or so moved in here. In fact, we actually just completely wrapped up everything at our old place last weekend. So we're now officially 100% here. But, we're focusing on what we can control. We're not getting too riled up about things that are outside of our control, politics, all that stuff. Yes, express yourself to the degree that you have. For me, that involves voting. But if that's the limit of your sphere of influence over politics or anything else, then so be it. Focus on what is within your sphere of influence. When it comes to getting back together with your ex, now there are things that are outside of your sphere of influence, such as what your ex will ultimately do or say or think or decide when it comes to getting back together with you or not. But there are definitely things that are within your sphere of influence, such as how you bring yourself to interactions. Are you doing it from a panicked, anxious, damage control sort of way? Or are you doing it from a calm, relaxed sort of way? Are you pretending to be calm and relaxed when really you're internally having a damage control meltdown kind of experience. These are things that are within your sphere of control. You can work through these things, and you can find a way to come to a place of inner peace within yourself so that you can bring the best of yourself towards your interactions with your ex. And this, of course, will influence how your ex is going to respond to you, because how you bring yourself is going to determine to a certain degree what they choose to do. Obviously, if you do the whole begging and pleading and all that stuff, it's going to have a most likely less than desirable effect. But if you are able to actually stay grounded, find that place of peace within yourself and all of that, and then bring that's probably going to have a different impact. Now, of course, ultimately, whatever they choose to do is on them, but you have influenced it to a certain degree. That's why we use the word influence rather than control, right? Unfortunately, you can't control what they're going to do. I've yet to learn that magic technique, but trust me, as soon as I do, I'll tell you all about it. But you can influence it by what you say, what you do, how you bring yourself, and all of that. And of course, you can also influence what else happens in your life as well, too. Are you living into your highest vision for yourself? Are you pursuing goals that are meaningful to you? Or are you just kind of, coasting through life? Now, I get it. It's been a rough year for, I think, all of us. I mean, it's 2020, right? We've had social unrest. We've had pandemics. We've had this whole, political circus. We've had, I'm sure I'm forgetting other things. There was like a double hurricane in Louisiana like a couple months ago. I mean, like that's crazy. We've had the wildfires here on the West Coast. And then, of course, there's all sorts of crazy things that have just been happening in people's individual lives. I know people who have lost loved ones and all sorts of things like that. And I'm sure that you're probably experiencing all sorts of things as the result of what's happened in the bigger picture world this year, and also what's maybe been happening in your own personal life as well. So, focus on what you can do to, pick yourself up from whatever setbacks you may have and find a way to move forward from that. That is probably within your sphere of influence. That is probably something that you can do. You can learn to be at peace with what happened. That doesn't mean you have to love whatever happened, but you can learn to be at peace with it, because that empowers you to do something proactive as opposed to reactive moving forward from there. You can also look at what you can do to, improve your life, right? That might include taking care of yourself physically, eating, exercising. That might involve working on your career, or, starting a new career if you're one of those unfortunate people who's lost their job due to the whole pandemic situation. Or if you've experienced any other sorts of setbacks as the result to many of the things that have happened this year. This obviously does include your relationship. That's why I talk about, bringing your best of yourself to your interactions, focusing on doing the important deep work to kind of right yourself emotionally so that you're not just crashing from one disaster to the next, panicking and all of that. This includes all sorts of other things as well, too. So look at what is available to you within your sphere of influence and start to work on those sorts of things. I know that we often want to talk about, text messages. What do I say? What do I do? What does it mean when they're following all of these attractive people of the opposite sex on Instagram? What does it mean when it takes them an obnoxiously long time to respond to text messages? What does it mean when they're distancing themselves? What does it mean when they give you these flat one-word answers? What does it mean when they don't respond at all? What does it mean when they give you these cryptic things that could kind of mean one thing but kind of mean another thing? And these are symptoms, I think, of deeper things that need to get done within your sphere of influence. Typically, this might involve okay, where is it that I don't trust myself to be able to handle this? Where is it that I don't trust myself to be able to go for what I want? Where is it that I don't feel worthy of this? Where is it that I feel like I'm not good enough to get what I want? Where is it that I feel like this is somehow not within my comfort zone, and how can I start to expand my comfort zone for this? So start to look at, whatever the, little things that might be happening in your life might be, and start to look at where those could be symptomatic of something deeper that may need to be addressed. We're going to be talking about this a little bit more moving forward into the future. I'm kind of scheming up some new things that I'd like to focus on over the next couple months, and I will, of course, be sharing these with you as they become relevant. But these are some things to start thinking about. How can you start to take responsibility for your sphere of influence? And how can you, just learn to be at peace with things that are outside of your sphere of influence? Again, this doesn't mean that you have to love them. It doesn't mean that you have to love the fact that your guy did or didn't win in the election. This doesn't mean that you have to love that there's a pandemic happening. This doesn't mean that you have to love that there's social unrest. This doesn't mean that you have to love the natural disasters that we're experiencing or did experience. But you can at least accept them and acknowledge that, like, okay, this is something that happened. And rather than becoming upset about it or outraged about it, you can become empowered to do something moving forward from here that's going to allow you to become a better person. Okay? So anyway, I hope this helps you out. Once again, if you do like what we're doing here, please help us trigger that YouTube algorithm by hitting that thumbs up button. It does sort of, send a message to the algorithm that says, hey, bump these videos up a little bit more. In the meantime, I'm going to do a little bit more camera research and, maybe figure out how to get some better video quality on these videos. That's within my sphere of influence. And, who knows? Maybe that might help me out with the YouTube algorithm a little bit more. They'll see a higher quality video. They'll assume it's a higher quality piece of content. I don't know. Anyway, we'll figure it out. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. Please have a good Halloween. Please have a good weekend. And we'll talk to you next week.